Do you accept that your plan to hold a referendum, or a consultation as you call it, is illegal under Spanish law?
It is not illegal, as a matter of fact. The Spanish government says that our plans for the consultation are illegal plans, but it is not true. We have identified 5 different legal frameworks to organize and to hold a consultation. 5 different legal frameworks, according to the Spanish legal framework, the Spanish Constitution.
So the important difference between your case and the Scottish case is that Alex Salmond has an agreement with the Westminster government to recognise the result of the referendum.
Well, that's a big difference. That's a big difference, and that makes the difference. In fact, it seems to me that the United Kingdom is trying to make sure Scotland doesn't leave the United Kingdom. And on the other hand, it seems to me that Spain is trying to make sure that Catalonia cannot leave Spain. And as you can see, as you can check, there is a big difference between both positions.
So you'd rather be dealing with David Cameron than with Mr.
Of course. I would like to deal, well, not exactly with Mr. Cameron, but with the British mentality. This is to say, if you have a nation, Scotland or Catalonia, you have in this nation broad majority of the population that is asking for a referendum, asking for real democracy. What do you have to do? To sit at the table, to talk about that, to reach agreements, and to let people vote. This is the British way. And I would like that Spain was exactly the same case with the same mentality. But it is not.
If Scotland were to vote yes in September, would that be helpful to you? Would that encourage the Catalans to embrace independence as well?
I don't think so. I think that there are some similarities between Scotland and Catalonia, but there are also differences. And I think that both countries have enough personality, even from the political point of view, to follow their own ways. So I wouldn't say that everything is similar between the Scottish process and the Catalan process, although, of course, there are some similarities.
Do you see Scotland as an ally in this, or does it just complicate things?
No, I don't think that the Scottish case complicates things in Catalonia. In fact, let me say that we envy a little bit what is happening in the United Kingdom, because what we would like is an agreement with the Spanish central institutions. Our aim is to reach this agreement and to organize the consultation in accordance with the opinion of the Spanish government. But the difference is that in Spain, the central government says you don't have the right to vote.
If the Catalans were to vote yes and then Spain simply refused to recognize it, said it was illegal, that would cause a constitutional crisis, not just in Spain, but in the EU as well, wouldn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it can, that can happen. A constitutional crisis in Spain can happen, but I'm quite sure that in the end, probably the Spanish government will have a certain reaction, because how can you convince the Catalans that they don't have the right to vote? It is difficult to stop a democratic movement and a peaceful movement.
But this is wishful thinking, though.
Yeah, well, but this is also politics, because if you have a very broad majority of your population pushing in this direction, then you have to stick by your principles, and you have to stick by your commitments. And I have to remind that 1 year ago in Catalonia, there were elections, Catalan elections, and the electoral programs were very clear. People voted for exercising the right to decide our future. So now we have to fulfill this mandate, and we have to stick up to stick up this popular mandate that we received 1 year ago.
Another big difference between you and Scotland is that the Scottish National Party has supported independence as a matter of principle from its foundation in the 1920s and 30s. Your party didn't talk about independence until relatively recently. It's a pragmatic or an expedient response to a short-term political dispute.
No, because I think that, as I said before, the majority of the Catalan people want to decide their collective future in a specific referendum. So the referendum has to be organized in 2014 if possible. But my position is, if the Spanish central institutions have something to offer to the Catalan people, pose the question in the same referendum and let the Catalan people choose between the offer of the Spanish institutions and the question to be posed by the Catalan institutions. The Catalan institutions have agreed the question and the date of the referendum some weeks ago. There is no offer from the Spanish institutions. So if this Spanish offer appears in the future, this offer has to be voted through the specific referendum in Catalonia.